Hi guys, in this episode I'm going to show you how to make a logo using Illustrator. Hi guys and welcome to Calvin Designs. My name is Calvin and I design, and that's why it's called Calvin Designs. Click here if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel and get all these tutorials as they come out, and click right here to get the source files for this episode and every other episode that I do so you can follow along with these tutorials. So in this episode, I'm going to show you how to make a typographical-based logo using Illustrator. If you've never used Illustrator before, don't worry. It's super simple. I'll get you using a few cool effects, and you'll end up being able to make a nice, cool, simple logo. And it's basically a part of a course that I've done called Illustrator Quick Start, which you can see right here. And it's the earlier lessons to kind of get you started, and there's a lot more in this course, and it really gets you started. So let's take a look at it.
Hello and welcome to this tutorial where we're going to get started with Illustrator, and we're actually going to start pretty quickly with creating a logo, a typographically based logo. So to start, I recommend using a program called Suitcase or Extensis Suitcase, and you can get it on extensis.com. Go to font management and it's called Suitcase Fusion 5, and you can try, I think you can try it for 30 days, otherwise you can buy it for about $100. It is a great font management tool that opens the door to a lot of simplified font editing. So I've gone ahead and installed it, and the next thing you want to do is, once that's open, is you're going to go in the File menu and you're going to enable Google Web Fonts. And what that's going to do is it's going to create another set of fonts right here. You have your own font library, your system fonts, and then it adds the Google Web Fonts. And what it does is it's adding all the fonts that Google is making available, which is quite a bit. It's 1,122 as of today. So once you have that, you now have access, easy access to all the fonts that Google provides. And there's quite a few and quite different ones. I've gone ahead and made a little selection. So just to give you a quick orientation, you can select the font and temporarily activate it or permanently activate it. I recommend not permanently activating it because it puts it into your system folder, and if you have too many permanently activated fonts, it eats up a lot of your memory and slows down your computer. So temporary activating it just activates it until you close it or until you restart your computer. So that's a pretty good choice. I've gone ahead and gone through some of the Google fonts, and I've sorted it through here, the star, which is favorites, and I've favorited all the ones that you see here with the yellow star. If you're at this point in the tutorial, I recommend you do that now, and you simply go to the fonts and click on the star and it'll add it there. So I'm going to take this one off because I don't want it. So Abril, Fat Face, Advent Pro, Cinzel, Cinzel Decorative, Dorsa, LC, Flamenco, Herr von Mühlenhof, Homanegi, and I can't pronounce all these, Lato, Lobster, Medulla, Titilium, Tulpen 1. Once you have all of these in your favorites, I recommend right-clicking on the Google Web Fonts and do New Smart Set. What that's going to do is, just like in the Finder on Mac, it's a smart folder. So I'm going to double click this to name it, and I'm going to call it Google Fonts Favorites. That. And I'm here is in the smart set, I'm basically telling what I want. So I'm saying favorite, yes. So anything that I favorite will automatically be added to this set. And now I can close this, and as you can see, I now have this font, this folder that only has my favorites. And I can go ahead and temporarily activate all those fonts. As you saw, it activated it. You saw it was pretty quick. It's a lot easier than opening them individually with FontBook or whatever other program you may have. And there are other good font management. I recommend Suitcase because it has this easy access to the web fonts, and auto activation with the Adobe CC suite is pretty nice. Which means if you have a document that uses a font that you have, it'll automatically activate it, so you don't have to go and find it and activate it. All right, now that we've activated these fonts, I'm going to just minimize this, and let's go to Illustrator. And here I'm going to create a new document, and we will go to Web and make it 1024 by 768. So it's a RGB document, which you see here, and we're good with that. All right, so I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to bring it over here, just maximize it, and I'm going to bring it the view to 100%, or you can do that here by saying actual size, right? All right, so I'm basically in Essentials. If you have already opened Illustrator and moved around some of the palettes, I recommend you go to up here in the top right where your workspaces are, and go to Essentials. And if it doesn't look like this, go to Reset Essentials, and it'll put everything back the way it is right here. All right. So now we're going to open Extensions and Extensis. So that's the suitcase. And it might take a few seconds the first time. And you see here I have various presets. So I have all my own fonts, the system fonts, and the Google fonts. And I'm going to create a new set. And I'm going to open this up and say all my favorites. And we'll call this Google Favorites. There we go. All right. So now I have access to all these different fonts that I made a selection from, and I don't have all the other fonts that I may have in my system, like Helvetica and Myriad and Times New Roman and all those other fonts. I just have the ones that I'm interested in right now. All right, I'm just gonna shrink this for a minute, and so we're gonna create a logo. And to start, I'm actually going to type down the text that's going to be the logo. So this is a typographically based logo. So I'm going to hit the text tool, and I just click once, and I'm going to type photo, and then I take the move tool and click out so I'm not in that selection. Hit the text tool again and click, and type in Surge. All right. So I now have this, and I have it selected. I'm going to move it up a little closer, select them both, and I'm going to go over here and just make it, let's say 24, 36. All right, so they're overlapping. I'm just going to move it over, and I'm just trying to get a feel for some of these fonts. So they're both selected. By holding down the Alt key or Option key, it's going to make a copy, and you see the cursor changes to that double cursor, which means that if I click and drag, I'm actually going to be creating a copy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and bring it over here, do that. I want both of them selected, and do that again and again. Let's do 4, and then I'm going to make a couple rows. I'll just do 3 like this. All right, so now I'm ready to apply my fonts. So I'm going to go ahead and select the top 2, and then open up my Extensis, and we'll make it a Brill Fat Face. See how easy that was? I don't have a million other fonts, and while here in this character thing, I have access to all my fonts that's in my system that is currently loaded, and as you can tell, there's quite a few. And to make it easy, you can make font sets, which is really useful. So, which is my favorites from the Google Web Fonts. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take the second one, and let's take Advent Pro Lite. So I'm doing them by family. Obviously, Advent Pro, as you can see, there's quite a few. I'm going to go ahead and just pick one of them. I think thin is probably nicer. All right, and then the third one, we'll go with Cinzel Black, and so on and so forth. So I guess Dorset is next. Over here we'll go with LC, and then we'll go with, what's next? Flamenco. Okay, and then this one I can't pronounce, Her van Mullenhorf. Right, and that. And let's go with Lato. Let's go with the hairline. Alright, and after Lato we got lobster. I'm going to take 2 bold italic. And after lobster we got medulla and titilium. Let's take light. Do we have a thinner one? Yeah, we got a thin right here. And I still have tulip in it. Alright, so I've got to make another copy here. Just bring it over here and select tulip. Alright, so I can now close this. And so that was an easy way to apply all my fonts that I've selected. As you can see, I already have quite a few choices in styles, and it really just took a few minutes. So we got some good headway pretty simply. So we're going to start. And a first rule of thumb in terms of logos, it's good to have a logo really drawn by its shape and not so much its effects or filters or texture that you may apply to it. A logo needs to stand well on its own. Imagine that you have to cut it out of a wood block or engrave it in metal. If there are a bunch of blurry lines and shadows and so on, you cannot engrave that. So a good logo is a versatile logo that can work in all formats, as much on your website as on a keychain or engraved or embossed or foiled on letterhead, for example. So it's important to start with the idea that your logo has to stand well with simple lines and hard edges. Alright, so to start, I'm going to pick, let's just start with this one. And I'm actually gonna, some of these fonts work well on 2 lines. Some of them that are kind of narrowed and condensed work probably better on a single line. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this one here, make a copy of it. And to edit the text, you can do this a number of different ways. One of them is to just click on the text tool and then click in it, and you see how the cursor changes. And now, just like in any text editing programs, I can edit the text. And the other way is, when you have it selected, you just double click, and you see now I'm in the text. So I'm going to add a bar, which is above the return, like this, and type in Surge. Alright, and just to get an idea of what this could look like, I'm going to make it red. Alright, so this could be an idea of a logo. Alright, then I'm going to try, and let's take this piece, and I like this thin one, and take this, except I'm going to take the first letter and make it lowercase. And to give it a little more style, I'm going to go to my text editing. So I'm going to have to go to Window, scroll down to my type, and go to the character palette. All right. So this is kind of an extended of what I had up here for the text editing. There's a little bit more in the in this window. So I'm going to go and make this. This is right here is the tracking, which is the space between the characters. And I'm going to make that, let's try -50 or even -75. And I can now make this a little bigger, something like that. All right. Well, I'm just getting some ideas down first, so this could be something. I like the idea of creating some kind of contrast when you have 2 words in a logo, and even on a single word. Sometimes it's nice to break it up in some way and add some kind of contrast. It's almost like accentuating a part of it. All right, so let's take another font. Let's try this one here. So I'm gonna make a copy, and let's take this one, which we've used a piece of up here. And doesn't need too much editing. I'd probably make this, sorry, the tracking -25. The photo would have to be a little bigger, so to make this bigger, I can either change the font size right here, or in the move tool, which is the black arrow, I can take it, click and drag to make it bigger. Now, if you notice, I'm basically stretching out the font, which I really don't want to do. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key, which keeps the constraints proportions. So I can now make it bigger like that, and I haven't stretched it. It's important to know that most professional fonts have a lot of work put into them, and it's unlikely that it will look better if you stretch it or condense it. Fonts are there's quite a lot of work. If you've ever tried to make a font, you know how much work is involved. So, and a good rule of thumb is respect the font. Try not to change it too much, especially squeezing it in strange ways. I can just show you an example. If I took, or not this one, if I took Surge here and stretched it because I needed to take more space, it simply doesn't look as good. And there's many reasons for that. Each one of these lines, the thicknesses are drawn in proportion to other parts of the letters, and here I've completely gotten rid of all those proportions, so it doesn't work well. All right, so let's try another one. Let's take a thin font like this, and I'm going to double click again to go into text, go to the right side, and I'm just going to type in Surge. I'm going to try an interesting thing here. I'm going to add a little block. So I take the click here on the rectangle tool, and I'm going to click and drag, and to make it a perfect square, I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and there you go. Made a black box that easily. I'm going to take the selection tool, and I'm going to right click on the box and arrange, send to back. What that means is right now it's in front of the text. I want it to be behind the text. So granted, it's black text, black box, you don't see which is in front of which, but if I take this text now, select it, and go to my swatches and hit the white, now I can see it's in front. All right, I'm going to take this text, hit the center align on the text, and now I can select them both, and by clicking once more on the block, you'll see that it has an additional outline, which means it's my reference object. And in here, which is the align to, you have align to key object. So I've made the square my key object. All right. So if I hit the center, it's going to center based on my key object, which in this case was the square. If I'd done it the other way around, meaning I select them both, but I just click once more over the text, you see how this has a second selection over it, and now I hit center, it's going to center based on that. So it's a neat little trick. All right, so I'm going to bring this up a little bit, and to give it again a little bit of contrast, let's make this text red. So that's pretty simple, and that could be a logo by itself. All right, and let's try another one. Let's take. Let's try this. Let's try these two here. I'm going to copy this over. Except I want photo to give a little more contrast. I'm going to make it bold. That's pretty good. All right, the tracking is a little large, so I'm going to bring that down to, let's see, -50. Okay. And Surge looks all right. It's a little, I think, when you have bold text and thin text, bold text has a tendency to look bigger just because it occupies more space. Yet, in terms of height, it's actually not bigger. But visually it is, so sometimes it's a nice design trick to make thin text big, bold text smaller, and you get a nice balance in there. And I'm going to change the tracking here to -25, and we've got another little logo. Maybe shrink it a little bit so that the right side is a little more aligned, and we're pretty good. All right, So we now have 5 basic typographically based logos, and you can always edit them. And a really important thing is you have hard edges everywhere. Every single one of these logos could be embossed, engraved, foiled, whatnot. They don't depend on texture and blurry lines, so that's very important. You can obviously add more effects, and that's fine, but do so once your logo is final. So if, let's say we said, okay, this is the final logo, I'm really happy with this. However, on my website, I want to give it a little bit of depth. Let's give it a drop shadow or a shadow. Let's try that. So I'll go to the ellipse tool, and I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to hold down the shift key to make it a perfect circle. I'm going to go to my gradients here and click on the gradients. Very simple. On the type, I'm going to say radial, and I want the black inside and the white on the outside. So I'm going to invert simply like that. All right, now I'm going to take the move tool and bring it up here. I'm going to actually move my whole artboard a little bit so we can see better. All right. And I'm going to right click it, arrange, send to back because I want it behind my text. And then I'm going to shrink it in height, and I'm going to make it wider, something like that. Except I want the gradient a little closer to the center, so bring this in like this, like so. Squeeze it down a little more. All right. And maybe a little too much. Something like that. That's a little dark. You can always go to my transparency here and say, well, make it 60%. And now it's softer. So it kind of gives the effect that the ground is right below it, or the floor, whatever, and the text is above it, and it's casting this shadow. There's another type of shadow which we can try on, let's say this one, this text right here. And I'm going to go here up to Effect, Stylize, Drop Shadow. And we get this little window here. And by default, it has this 775. So the opacity, the offset, the X offset, the Y offset, and the blur. So for this example, I'm just going to leave it like this, except I'm going to bring it a little closer to the object. So let's say 4. All right. And hit OK, except my text should probably be white because black with a black drop shadow is not too clear. So let's make it white. All right, so now you can see there's a different type of shadow. You can see better here. And it's probably a little too blurry, so I'm going to go to the appearance palette, which is here. And it says, okay, this has a drop shadow. So I'm going to click on this, which lets me edit that effect. And I'm going to reduce this a little bit, hit the preview button so I can see what I'm doing. Maybe make it a little closer, 3 and 3, and maybe a little more blurry, something like that. All right. Anyway, this is just an example of the kind of treatment you can do once your logo is drawn. And probably a nice little change to this would be to have this red, and well, it's a little bit of a bright red. I'll go with a darker red, something like that. And there you go. All right, so this is a good start, and whether you're doing this logo for yourself or a client or a friend, it's always good to have choices. Having multiple choices also helps the person pick the one he's actually going to like, because if the person really didn't like these two, for example, but likes this one, if you just showed him this one alone, he would say, yeah, I like it, you know, it's good, I like it. If you showed him multiple ones, some that he'll like more than others, the one that he likes will actually stand out considerably compared to the ones he doesn't like. So it helps in not only for choice, and also because you can say, well, I like this font, but I like this treatment. So we can mix and match.
All right, guys, I hope you liked that episode. And please share this on your social networks, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Google+. It really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and sign up to the newsletter to get all these goodies. I'll see you in the next episode.